First time I got to use the gavel.
Exciting.
But, it was. So, welcome everybody. I would like to call the joint city and county meeting to order at 12:31 p.m. And then Mel will call the meeting to order for the county commission.
Yeah, that's called the county commission meeting for April 17th, 2026 at what time? 12:31. And those present are Tawny Knutson-Boyd, Michael McCurdy, Councilwoman, Colin Topper, Councilman, Trisha Dean, County Commissioner, Jason Taylor, County Councilman, Michael Black, City Administrator, Joette, Mayor, Langanese, Melody McCandless, myself, Commission Chair. We have Quinn Hall, our County Deputy Administrator, Commissioner Bill Winfield, Councilman Miles Lofton, Commissioner Jock Hadler, Councilwoman Caitlin Myers. This is hard. County Commissioner Brian Martinez and County Commissioner Mary McGann. So thank you all for coming.
Yeah, and we'll be a little informal today. I think we can refer to each other by our first names just to make it not such a mouthful. I have a couple of housekeeping things. We will be sharing microphones, so they move back and forth. You don't actually have to move them. So, and they're pretty, you can pick up everybody, but if you wouldn't mind sharing your mics, that would be great. And if everybody could silence their cell phones, and the county council members and commissioners, if you could put do not disturb and keep your cell phones kind of out of touch, that would be great. And I also would like to say that I want to remind everybody that we are operating under the city's code of conduct and rules of order. I expect a basic level of decorum from everybody here, including the audience. I want to make sure we keep it respectful, that we stay focused on the topics, and let's make sure we end up with a productive conversation that actually allows us to move things forward. So with that, I guess we'll get started. I just also want to say, this is something that Melody and I have been working on for, I guess, since you've been the chair, actually. And we even talked about it before that we really felt it was important for the city and the county to get together and talk about things that we could work towards over the next couple of years. We don't want to get too broad because there's so much that we could be working on. So we came together and we identified the issues that are on the agenda that we felt were things that we could be working on now, working on like tomorrow, and things that we could look into the future that we could share and collaborate on. So I really appreciate Mel's persistence in making sure we make this happen, and hopefully this will continue to be the case into the future. So with that, our first item is the UMTRA project. We've had a big celebration last week, which was great. The pile is gone, or almost gone. And we just kind of wanted to talk about how we got there and where we need to go in the future. So we're going to start with Saxon and Mary to give us kind of an update on the future site that both bodies, the city resolution 19-2023 and the Grand County resolution 3353-2023 approved in support of this vision for the UMTRA site from the community. So take it away, ladies.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Michael Black, for running the slide presentation.
Pleasure.
And Saxon has been working on the future sites plan, every single one of them. This was our third rendition of the future sites. And so I felt like she was even more qualified than myself to help with this presentation. So I'm going to pass it over to her to talk it through the slides, but we'll both be here to answer questions. And then I'll have a statement at the end. Thank you.
Okay, so we've come a really long way if you look at the difference between slide 2001 and 2025, and it looks like we're finally rounding the corner to actually implementing something on this property. So this is just a quick presentation about what's happened in the last decade and what the Site Futures Committee has done. Okay.
All right. It doesn't respond immediately.
Oh, and all the tailings are gone. It's just the subflooring and some of the other stuff. But the tailings themselves, what was placed there as tailings are gone now.
Okay, so just quickly, the Site Futures Committee was established in 2012, and the mission is to conduct a public planning process to develop a community vision for the site. And the Grand County and Moab City will acquire, develop, and manage the former site in cooperation with other agencies for a wide range of amenities. And the 5-year update of community vision is required by the city and the county resolutions, and the visions were completed in 2013, 2018, and 2023. And this, the benefits, they're an opportunity for continued DOE funding and cleanup. If we had a plan, we felt like it would be easier when our representatives, many of you are in the room, go to Washington and ask for more money for the cleanup. It will determine what infrastructure may transfer with the property, and that's where we are now. We need to come up with a list by June 1st of what infrastructure things we would like transferred. It's a guide to future planning and management of the site, and also obtaining community input for desired future use. So both Moab City and Grand County endorsed each one of these 3 plans, and it was unanimous for all votes on all 3. So the 10 principles that the Site Futures came up with was to continue collaboration with the DOE and work in partnership with the Office of Legacy Management. And number 3, plan future site use is based on the community's visions and needs. 4, prioritize health and safety throughout the site design and facility development. And to pursue short and long-term sources of funding. There needs to be some kind of revenue stream. Okay. Number 6, use sound planning to create a welcoming north gateway to Moab. Develop a phased multi-year implementation plan. So obviously it's not going to all go in one fell swoop. How do we want to start? What do we want to implement first? Incorporate environmental sustainability and energy conservation measures. Emphasize resource conservation and enhancement, and to recognize existing rights of way and property deed restrictions. So some of the site constraints. 74% of the entire site are either in the floodplain, in rights of way, on the steep hillside, up on the other side, the hill on the other side of the Potash Road, conservation easements, and then sovereign lands, mainly the portions of the river. So those are constraints. And DOE legacy management sites discourage overnight use because of liability. So everything the Site Futures Committee has gone forward so far was no overnight anything on the site. There's potential below surface contamination, might be an issue digging foundations, footings. We won't know until they get more little farther on with their remediation. Culinary groundwater is not available on the site, and groundwater right now is managed by Legacy Management.
There's been some confusion lately on the overnight because, it will be cleaned up to the standards that you would normally think someone could be there overnight. Because that's their goal, is to get it that clean. However, because of legacy management and the restrictions they're going to have to put on it, like every bucket of dirt that leaves that place will have to be tested. Every bucket of dirt that's brought on has to be tested. So any type of, especially if you think housing, not so much with a motel, hotel, but with housing, that would be separate people doing separate things, and to manage the comings and goings of dirt, and if they're going to dig down and disturb the groundwater, that in all the sites that have been cleaned up throughout the nation, they have legacy management has very much discouraged any overnight, because even if they couldn't prove it, someone could come and say, I stayed, I lived here, and I got cancer, and it's the type of cancer you get from blah, 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 and the liability is increased greatly.
If we could just focus on the site future for this evening, we've got a limited, or this afternoon, we've got a little bit of limited amount of time. So if you could just show us, continue with the public outreach process and the fact that we will be going through this process again very soon.
Okay. So just here was the first Site Futures Committee. I don't know, somehow that ended up being in red in the transfer of the slideshow. 3 people have been on the Site Futures Committee since the beginning. One was Norm and myself, and then Russ Von Koch. And public outreach, you can read that we had a couple workshops and a comment period, that first one. Okay. Second one in 2018. Again, the list gets a little bit longer as to who was on the site committee. And we had a web page. We went more on the computer this time. Web page, a public comment period, an open house, another comment period. So that was 2018. And then the last one in 2023, the committee gets a little bit longer, and we started with an open house and an online survey for the community. And there were 179 survey responses, and then we held an open house after that. And this is what you've probably, most of you have seen the map of this. I won't go over it. But the community vision basically focuses on resident friendly uses. People in town really wanted something for residents. There was strong support for an event center, sort of like a Red Rocks amphitheater thing, trails, a boat ramp, and a transit center. And the design should reduce water use and environmental impacts and increase sustainability. And on the map, you can see the kind of red-brown stippled area. That is the floodplain as best as we can determine right now. It'll change a little bit as they excavate some more dirt. But really the viable part to put things is the upper left-hand part of the site. So that's near the Potash Road there. So that's it.
So Saxon, there's really roughly about 100 acres that can be developed out of the 483, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So proposed infrastructure to remain, just to kind of kick that off, since that's something that is looking as right in front of all of us. The DOE administrative office area with the road, the parking lot, and modular buildings, septic tank and leach field. Some of those buildings may not be viable. They might be more of a liability than an asset. Access roads, the main one you get to from 191, and there are 2 access roads on the Potash Road. And the DOE rail siding and the safety wall. It does not look like the cliff stability monitoring system is something to take on. It's expensive, is what we've learned the last few weeks. And then the infrastructure, I won't read all that. You can take a look at that, but that's what's there. And community vision infrastructure needs, obviously going to need water up there and probably some kind of something for waste. And I think that's the last one. I mean, there are a couple, but no, I won't go over that. So I'm done.
Can you put up the slide of the site plan?
So as you see, each year that we got closer to the end, more and more people became interested. And so more and more people became involved in the process. And I'm sure in next year, when we start the process again, that we'll even have a larger group that will show interest. What's happened since we've gotten so close is I know I'm getting a lot of talk about, well, this has to happen on the site. This has to happen on the site. And I want this to happen on the site. It's even been, DOE even said people told them that this was not the plan that the people wanted anymore, that people have changed their mind. They want a different plan. And I don't know how they know that, because this was a big process we went through to find out. And so I guess until things change, this is pretty much what we're, somewhat the plan, and it could very much change by the next time. And I hope people that want to be part of the process, become part of the process when it opens up again next year. Are there any questions?
So as Mary mentioned, next year, 27 will probably be our final community vision process. I know there are other ideas, not surprised by that. The closer you get to the closure of a site, other people have other ideas. Some of you weren't involved in this 2023 process and are new to it. So looking forward to that next year in 27. And bring your ideas forward. Nothing's off the table. However, with that being said, at our infrastructure meeting we had just the other day, the DOE did say when the property is transferred, and for people that don't know this, we do have legislation in Congress to transfer the site to to Grant County, and that Grant County has agreed that they will work with the city to help whatever we end up moving forward with. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But they did say there will be deed restrictions. They didn't tell us what those deed restrictions are. And so until we know what those deed restrictions, it's hard to know what we can actually do. We do know that they've seen this site and this, what we planned on this, in this plan were things that they said would be doable. But anyway, we'll see where that falls out and try see if we can get some more information from the Department of Energy. But if anybody has any questions about this process and where we are today, knowing that you're going to have an opportunity to come to the table next year and put all of those ideas out there. Any questions? Yes, Brian.
So what have the conversations been like with legacy management and what they're gonna need moving forward?
We haven't really had a whole lot of conversations with legacy management yet because they're kind of not involved. The only part that we did was we went over to Las Colones in Colorado because they had a similar site and they kind of told us the process that they had to go through. And I think what I want to lead into next is how we want to do that, because in Grand Junction, it was 20 years before they did anything. And I don't think we want to wait 20 years. And I think there are some things that we can implement immediately, like trails and maybe waysides, and we can ask the Department of Energy. And Mel and I talked about this. I really feel strongly that we should be asking the Department of Energy to do things to that site, why they have the capability to do them, that we can immediately have access to. And so I think we need to start working towards how we are going to implement some of these things so that once the county gets the site, we can actually start moving forward with what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, the reason I brought up legacy management is I would imagine that we would want to start with where our priorities align. With
Right.
Legacy management as far as infrastructure goes and things like that right now. And so while we're in this process of deciding which assets are valuable, I think that their input would be invaluable. Because I mean, they're going to need water, they're going to need power, they're going to need sewer as they move on forward.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Brian, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just want to make sure that our priorities are aligning with legacy management and what their needs are going to be, so that we can just make sure that we're moving forward efficiently.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
and-
And Jacques has had his hand up next, Mary.
What's the process for putting together the 2027, 2028 future sites committee?
Saxon, I'm going to turn that over to you because you've been involved in the process to put the other.
On the spot.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's going to be the same as what we've done before.
Yeah, I expect it'll be the same. Russ is not available for this meeting, but he's the chair. So maybe I can advocate to him a little bit, but I expect it would be inviting everyone back that was on it previously. I know maybe some of the people,
Open it up
agency
for other
people, yeah, may not be available, but just asking who's there, who would like to be part of it. And then just making sure that all the agencies and both city and county, probably Castle Valley and Thompson.
Yeah, because they'd be involved with the
Yeah.
Crescent
are
Junction.
also- Yeah, Crescent Junction also, that they have a voice.
Do our best to make sure that the citizens of Grand County, have the opportunity to express what they want and what they, looking forward to. Oh, and legacy management, what they will do is they just monitor. They don't really do anything on the site as far as, they don't even have an office on the site at Las Colonias. They monitor the water, they make sure the stuff that comes in and goes out, and that more than like, they're not like working there like the Department of Environmental Management. It's a little different.
However, It's very important for us to
Very
develop a relationship with them, just like we do with environmental management. So,
And there, Sarah's still there.
any other comments or questions?
How did the rail lines fit into this, the site futures and all the work that DOE went into improving them?
Well, you know, we've had conversations with Union Pacific, as you heard at the celebration. Grace Napolitano would always put me in touch with them. Because what we would like to see is the Canyon Spirit, formerly the Rocky Mountaineer, be able to bring their passengers right into
Absolutely.
town. And so I think that's an important conversation for us to always keep in the back of our mind, is how we can use that rail service to benefit our community. And that's, you know, I've talked to Union Pacific about it. It's something that's real doable.
Great.
But we can't do anything until the DOE is off the site.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you guys. Great refresher. Next up, we have and I'm gonna let Michael talk a little bit more about this. It's a memorandum of understanding between Grand County and Moab City's Atlas Park Perspective Planning efforts. And we've got about 10 minutes left in this discussion. But we did pass a memorandum of understanding with the city and the county as to how we wanted to not take 20 years to start working on what we wanted to see at that site. And at the time, there was some grant money available, like about $2 million, 500 to $2 million available that we could use to start planning. This is through the DOE's funding mechanism. There was an acronym for it, like there is for everything federal. But we got together and started talking about how we could get that grant money. And one of the things we came up with was maybe we should start developing sort of like a master plan that Mel and I are going to talk about. We're doing with maps later on in the agenda for that site, so that, you know, we've just all had a clear picture. And that might be appropriate for us to do after our next 27 visioning session, because there might be some additions or changes, so that it's really clear, you know. And Mary suggested something 3D so that we can actually see what that property is going to look like once we fully implement everything we want to implement. And so the city at the time budgeted for a staff person, because honestly, you guys, as much as we like to work together, I don't know that we could actually take on this big of a project as a in a committee setting. So we were proposing that we don't have it in the budget anymore, because for various reasons, that whole process kind of fell apart. But it's something I'd like to hear from you. If you think hiring a person that's probably shared between the city and the county, or how that would look, you know, the staff, the admin staff at the county and the city can talk about that, so that we have somebody that we're working with, that's their sole responsibility, is to looking at the site, finding funding mechanisms so we can do the things we want to do there, and that kind of thing. So I'd like to open that up for a little bit of a discussion. And Michael, I don't know if you have anything you want to add, since you developed that MOU.
I'll just add a couple things really quick, but the mayor gave a pretty good synopsis of what that was. And it's true, we do need to start with a concept. And the idea was that we were going to go from concept to shovel ready. So this would be after the next concept comes about. And it was a grant from DOE that was specifically targeted to privileged communities. And those underprivileged communities were those who were affected by energy mining for uranium and things like that for a number of years. And I believe we got a pretty good response from them. They just said, maybe not right now. You're just a little too far away from the close of the project.
I think
So
ownership was part of the.
yeah, ownership was as well. Yeah. But we were looking from around 1.2 to $2 million. It definitely was a joint effort. And it would basically be feasibility analysis for the concept that had already been developed, civil site planning, public engagement, and a final plan that would go out to bid at the end, that to hopefully construct the project if the funds were available to do that.
Thoughts?
I believe I spoke to Norm. I think I saw you speaking to him as well at the celebration. And I think they're hoping that bill to transfer it over to Grand County is going to be moving pretty quickly. But you know how quick everything moves in DC. But I know that until we have that land, it's really hard to get people to give us money to develop it until we have the deed of ownership.
Yes, Mel.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely something we want to revisit. I went over this MOU because it was there before, right before I became
Yeah.
a commissioner, but I think the idea behind it's good, but we're definitely gonna revisit it and
Absolutely.
relook at it. And yeah, if there's grant funding out there, we want to take advantage of those opportunities. And once it gets transferred over to the county, then I think it's a perfect time to redo our MOU.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think absolutely 100%, because that was, kind of driven by this grant. It's something that we had to do, but, Mayor, I think if we've got legislation in Congress, I mean, I think, because we didn't at the time that we did this, we didn't really know what was gonna happen. We may be able to start, getting some funding, without having, the actual land transferred, especially if we know that it's, going to happen. I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts on that, but anybody else?
I guess I'm wondering, as we're considering this, then with the MOU, it would be joint. I'm thinking with the land transferring over to the county, then a lot more of the responsibility of grant application. That position, a lot of that would also go over to the county, whether that's rolling over the UMTRA liaison position into that site futures or what, but I guess that is kind of a question of, is the county gonna be taking on more of that role if we're gonna come back to that grant application?
Well, I think that's to be determined, to be honest with you. I think the idea is we would love as the city of Moab to partner, and I think we've all agreed that that's something that we should do as we develop that site. But who actually is control of moving it forward? I think we would also like to be a part of that. So I think it's to be determined at this point. Bill, do you have anything to add?
No, all I've heard about the bill is that it's waiting to be moved on to the House floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the process is to get it there, but that's where it's at. It came out of committee and,
Right.
Senator Lee was part of that committee. It was one of his committees. So it's out of committee waiting to get a place on the floor.
And my guess it's going to be folded into other legislation. I doubt it will be a standalone bill. Anybody else that has comments about the future site and the process moving forward? Yes, Brian.
Yeah, just two things. One is I'd like to just make sure that we're also considering the pipeline. We got that.
Yes.
We got that added into the legislation before it went through committee. So that's a resource, I think, that's gonna be coming towards Grand County. And then the second that I just like, at least as we kind of move into it, I think we view this as an asset. But I don't think that it's an asset yet. I think that we all need to understand what we're actually taking on as a liability.
Yes.
And we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna divvy up that liability moving on in the future until it does become an asset.
Brian, that is a really, really good point, because I think we all get pie in the sky and think, oh, look at this, we've got this 500 acres of land, but it is going to be a liability, and there is going to be a lot that's going to have to be taken care of that we don't even think about, like all the tumbleweeds that are going to be growing out there. Anyway, so glad you brought that up. Anything else?
I'm wondering, can you clarify the pipeline addition?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a pipeline that goes from the Green River out to Crescent Junction, and they used that to, as they moved the tailings over there to water it down and tamp it on down. On the completion of the project, the state of Utah passed the HCR1, I believe. Mr. Winkler?
001.
001,
2024.
recommending that the DOE transfer that pipeline over to Grand County Water Conservancy District. So that will be the possibility of water for Crescent Junction and hopefully for Thompson up there. Those are the purposes of having that water transferred over or that infrastructure. Once again, talking about liabilities, it is in the DOE's best interest because they are going to need water moving forward on that site. And this would basically relieve them of the liability of having to maintain that pipeline all the way through. So Grand County, not only do we, get access to that, but we'll also get the liability of taking care of the pipeline that goes all the way from Green River out to Crescent Junction.
But that's a huge asset out there.
Huge asset to those two communities out there.
Yep, and to that intersection. Anything else? We're kind of like, over our time with this one, but one thing that Mel brought up about the future site process for next year in 27, which I really like. And I think it's something when we move forward with this that we should think about, is looking at stages of how we can develop that site. Like, what can we do immediately? What can we do, 4 or 5 years? And what can we do in 10 or 20? And so I think that's something that when we do start that process, let's not forget to kind of to look at kind of a tiered approach to how we envision what we want to have out there, what we can get done now, why we've got the DOE there with the money to do it, and what we can do in the interim and then, 10 years out. So something I'd like us to consider. And then the last thing, I don't know that there's a whole lot to talk about here. I did include in your packet the infrastructure list. I think, Bill, you didn't have a chance to see that. And then this big group is, we can't decide what we want to keep and what we want to not keep. And it really comes down to Grand County. It's going to be your property, what liabilities you want, what liabilities you don't. Mel and I were talking about it yesterday. We have two different, if it was me and I got that property, I would want it clean with nothing on it. She has different ideas, which I think are really appropriate. And I think what you offered was to develop a smaller group. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so we've had a couple meetings with the DOE and the UNTRA site heads out there the last few months. And I think it's been a large group. We've had people from the county, the city, the site futures, and the steering committee. And I think we'll have a little bit smaller group that will get together and really hone in on those ideas, bring it before the commission so that the commission can approve that. And then by June 1st, we'll have that list that goes to the DOE. And I think including on that list is kind of some of those dirt projects even. I mean, I know we're talking about infrastructure, which is majority the electrical and the sewer and the water and all of the other infrastructure that you saw, but I think we can add those to that list. They said add it all. It's our wish list. So but we don't want to take on too much liability because we already are taking on a huge liability. So there'll be a small group of people that are from that group, representatives. So Mary, I think it's be Mary, Bill, and I from the commission and the steering committee in Saxon, and pick a couple other people, and we'll from that group and just hone in exactly what we want, put it on a commission meeting so that everyone's aware of what we're taking to the Department of Energy.
Sounds great. Thank you. So this was our first item of something that we could be working on together. I know we're looking at 29 for closure when we finally get it, but I think the point of this is that we start working together now so that when we get to 29, we have something that we can actually use. Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Great, good. All right, moving on. Main Street sidewalk installation. Now, this is something hopefully we can get done sooner rather than later. As you all know, we've got a new liquor store in town, and there's no place for people to walk except on the road from the liquor store down to town. And UDOT came to us when they first, started on that project and said, could you guys do a sidewalk? Would you be interested in doing a sidewalk? And so I believe Michael and Quinn, you guys are on this agenda item to kind of touch where we're at and kind of what the costs and how we can share this project.
So I'll do a quick overview. We're going to ask UDOT to come up. Dan Hinckley here is here from UDOT, and then we've also got the county engineer who's coming up as well. So just as an overview, really quick, this is the stuff in red. Here is the city of Moab. The property we're talking about, we'll go over in just a second, but this is the South Maverick here. The new liquor store is still under construction here. And then we've got the dollar store and the tire store here. Let's get, sorry, my computer. So I'll show you the sidewalk. So this is where we have sidewalk right now in the black dashed line. And then this is where we're looking at sidewalk. The sidewalk is about 675 feet in linear distance, but it's about 6 feet wide. And that's what we have on both ends right now is a 6 foot wide sidewalk. We're looking at a total cost for the sidewalk of around $75,000, depending on your drainage issues and elevation and fill and things like that. It could be a little bit different, but that's our internal estimates of what we think the cost would be. Uh, this is gonna be a joint project, which I'll talk about in just a second. UDOT's here, they can talk about the curb and gutter cost and the drainage, but they did say that they thought this was a good project and they want to participate. And then also, Grand County has talked about several different options for participating. We don't know which one is going to be yet, but they have another project that they could make it part of, or it could be a standalone project. And then the last thing here, this is just a couple of pictures from the north and south, and then in the middle, all the sidewalk we're looking at would be on UDOT right away. We think all the sidewalk would certainly, but I think through engineering, there might be some discoveries with drainage that we may need to talk about. There's no effect to private property as far as we know right now. The city, county, and UDOT would be working together on this. And as the mayor pointed out, this fills in a really big gap in the community, and it's a pretty important project for the community. So, Dan, did you want to?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mayor and Chair. It's wonderful to be with you today. Councilmen, commissioners, I'm Dan Hinckley. I'm the district engineer for UDOT, located in Price. I oversee all the maintenance and construction activities in Southeast Utah. So our initial estimate, just a very quick estimate, with this about 675 feet of curb and gutter. UDOT would be covering the cost of that curb and gutter, the asphalt tie-in, and any needed drainage improvements in that area. And we estimate that's probably going to run $60,000 to $65,000, and it could be more depending on how bids come back and the way that in which it's leaded, I guess, or the way in which the contractor looks at that. And so we would be working directly with that, and our proposal would be to create an agreement with the local governments to be able to pass through that funding, so that once that's built, we would receive an invoice, then pay that invoice.
So we would actually be doing the curb and gutter, and you would reimburse us for it?
Yes,
That's pretty typical. We can definitely deal with something like that. They usually pay their bills, so they're pretty good.
if not, you know who to call.
Yeah.
Yeah, the county's portion of this would be the design, which Horrocks is willing to do, to put together a design enough for an estimate to create that agreement with UDOT, as well as add that as a change order under the pending contract with Silver Spur Construction for the Jackson Street Phase 2 storm drain project that we're about ready to roll.
Right. I think from our perspective, from the city's perspective, we just want to see it move forward. If Jackson Street is moving forward, that's great. Let's just do it. But if it's going to be delayed, we might want to look at doing this as a separate project.
Yeah, I'll say that we've got quite a few different options available to us with the Jackson Street drainage, and we've had some discussions at the county about the overall cost. Obviously, that's a huge component of this for the Jackson Street project. And we've also got a few other projects in the works, and the commissioners have the option to shift some of that funding around. And so we'll hit them up and see where they want to go with this. But if this is the direction they choose to go, we're happy to make it happen.
Any idea what a timeline would be? I kind of feel a little urgent about this just because of all the people walking down the road.
I think we'll have a decision on our end as far as whether we move forward on the full Jackson Street project or a modified version of it within the next, maybe not Tuesday, but that next meeting, within 4 weeks.
So if you have to modify, would that
If we have to modify that, we'll definitely change the scope of the
Okay.
engineering, and that would probably take another, Sean, how many weeks? Probably another 3 weeks to modify.
It's a week for design, the agreement, but yeah, I think that would go on the May 5th commission agenda for that decision.
So I think we should be shooting for going out to bid somewhere late June or early July. I think it might sound like a while away to some people because we want to get on this right away, but I think that makes the most sense. And if we can keep moving towards that, that'll line up with our budget. Although if it happens sooner, we could figure it out. But I think that's the most realistic thing and what we should shoot for.
great? Well, the liquor store just opened. So if we can get some sidewalk in this year, I think that's a success. Any comments or questions from anybody? Yes, Bill?
My question would be, so the county would be on the hook for the design portion only of this, just for clarification?
That's where we are right now. My proposal to the council will be that I feel like that's a pretty good trade since it is in the city. The right of way of the road is in the city. The property it's adjacent to is not in the city, it's county. But if you guys could cover the design and the project management as well, then I think we could cover the cost of the sidewalk, knowing that the county's or the UDOT's gonna cover the cost of the curb and gutter and tie-in.
Or she could give us money if you wanted to, we'd be happy. Anything else, Bill?
Nope, that's all I had. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, well, keep us posted. Quinn, I'm sure you'll keep the commission posted, and you and Mark and UDOT and Michael will get this moving forward.
Yep.
Great.
Make that addenda.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, you're back on time.
All right.
Good job, you guys. All right, so the next piece is economic development. And we all know that county, city, our economic goals are pretty much similar. And our main economic driver, of course, is tourism. And for the city, downtown is a really important thing, and we'll get to that. But, you know, Mel and I have been working on this project for a long, long time. And with the help of Michael and Melissa, we are moving forward with the final phase of the Moab Area Partnership for Seniors Campus. And we believe that this is a big economic driver for our community also. It's not only helps support our senior population, which, by the way, a fifth of our population is 55 years and older, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But we just wanted to give you an update on the MAPS project, because we believe it could also be enticing retirees to come to our community, and that there's a really nice economic component to this that we kind of don't think about that often. And so Mel and I kind of wanted to bring this to the forefront of the county, the commission and the council, so that we can start thinking about our senior population, 20% of our population, and how we as two bodies can help support us as we get older. So, and people that are currently here. So would you mind pulling up the?
Sure. You want to just see the overview map or?
Yeah. So recently, the Healthcare Special Service District, who owns the property, is going to be putting out an RFP next week to a variety of planners that
It's coming.
okay. For the completion of this project. And as you can see on your screens, that's the site. That is the Moab campus right there. What you see in green hash is the property that we own. That's about 8 acres. And so our goal there, and Melissa, I wouldn't mind if you could come up in case there's any questions. I mean, I won't, I know, you're up for the next 3, so the next 2 also. So it'd be great to have you here if there's some questions. So that green portion is what's left. It's 8 acres, and some of it's commercial, some of it is residential.
I'm gonna bring it up on a larger.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see it better.
And so what we want to do is develop that. And our primary goal there is independent senior housing, because there's a lot of housing out there. We don't really talk about senior housing that much. You know, we have the housing task force. I've talked to Caitlin about this, you know, but we talk about workforce housing. We talk about, you know, essential services housing, but we don't talk about senior housing. And I think it's a big issue for our community. For example, I live in a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with my husband on a 1/4 acre of land, and I don't want to have to do all the work I do in my yard anymore. And I don't need a house that big, but I don't have anywhere else to go if I wanted to move. And so the idea of this campus is so that people like me and others that want to maybe move back into town, have a smaller footprint in their home, not have a bunch of yard maintenance, kind of like a mini retirement community. Really, that was the whole vision for this. And so we're gonna put on RFP to hire somebody, a consultant, a planning consultant, to help us come up with a master plan on what we can do. Some of this property is commercial, so we can also have retail, you know, and Melissa did a really great job of kind of describing to us, this is the committee that worked on this, you know, of all the different things that we could actually do there that would benefit not only the senior population, but kind of integrate it into the entire community. And so anyway, that's kind of where we're going with this. You can see the lighter green next to the Moab Regional Hospital is the care center. We need to expand that care center. We need to add another 34 units with a memory care and other services provided for long-term care. The little pink dots on the right, that is Walnut Lane. And then there's one little strip of property that's owned by a private person. It's about an acre and it's got about 10 trailers on it. And so we've also going to ask this consultant to look at the expansion of the care center and how maybe we can include Walnut Lane and this other parcel into the full development. Now, the green piece is going to be the senior housing piece. The others could be whatever, you know, whatever is determined that we want to be there, other than the care center. So hopefully this person that we hire is going to be able to help us figure all of this out. And so that's kind of where we're at with maps. Yes, Sean.
What's the commercial zone, Joey?
Where is it on here?
Yes.
It is directly behind, I think it's the property right behind, right next to the Grand Center.
Okay.
The one area is the recovery center with the black line. That's the recover. I think that's commercial. And I think right behind it is commercial. Behind, yeah.
And then how about that piece of property to the north, that little, the red dot property?
That is community rebuild.
Right.
And we've talked to them because right now what they want to do is put a cul-de-sac in there. And there's some concerns with our planning staff that if there was a fire, they'd be trapped in there. And so we want to figure out a way to connect them to the care center road down below and come up with, you know, and these are all things that a master planner. So basically we put that in there because that's going to be most likely community rebuilds housing, which is great. So anybody else? Questions? Nobody's very talkative. You guys are like way talkative in your meeting.
They want to make
They
sure
must-
we stay on.
I'm excited to see this happen. I remember years ago, we met and before the new hospital. I mean, this has been a project for years.
Oh, yeah.
Excited to see
Yeah.
that this far.
25, actually. So-
We'll talk about
Yeah, okay.
assessment. So, yeah, as when I was running for commission, I would have never thought that senior housing was going to be something that I was going to champion. But as I was put on the Council of Aging Board and also the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District, it was very apparent that this was a need. You know, we all hear about housing, just like Joette said, but not really senior housing, senior needs. And the fact that by 2030, one out of every 5 residents going to be over the age of 55 in our community. And so I wanted to jump on the bandwagon and start working with this. So one of the things that we need before we can close all the gaps is information. And so right now we have a community-wide comprehensive needs assessment and gap analysis that's going to be going out. It's in the advertiser this week. There's a QR code or website, I think, in the advertiser. You can go on there. It's on our website. If you search older adults update, you can also find a bunch of information on what we're doing with this needs assessment. And this assessment will directly inform policy decisions, funding advocacy, what the program will develop, and also what the county's planning framework looks like. So this is really important. We're hoping to get this done quickly, and you can fill it out for yourself. You can fill it out for those that you know, but we want to get that far and wide. So if you see that in the next few weeks, please take your time and get that accomplished. That will help us in our future planning.
Very good. This is really exciting to me. You know, I don't know, all of you guys are aware, I'm a gerontologist. Study of aging has always been my background. You know, I've been in long-term care and aging population issues pretty much my whole career. And I really, you know, Mel and I have been talking and Melissa, and I just really want to advocate for our senior population and, you know, the county, you guys run a lot of the senior services, Council on Aging, the Grant Center, Meals on Wheels. But I feel like the city needs to step up on this also, in that it's something that we all can absolutely work together on. And let's not forget about that population. You know, we're all gonna be there, Bill, we're already there.
We're
there. And so are you, yeah, so, and Mary and Tony, I mean, I just feel that's so important, and I just was thrilled, because I remember when Mel became, got on the commission, and you guys appointed her to the Council on Aging and some other aging, and you're like, I'm the youngest person here, and now I get to go deal with all the aging people, which was great, because it was an eye opener, I think, for you. And I'm just really proud that Melissa also jumped on this bandwagon, that the three of us just see this important need, and we want to put things forward to address it. And I don't want us to forget that, because we get all involved in UMTRA and, you know, these fun, sexy projects, well, sidewalks, but, you know, all these other things. And we, you know, and we're just forgetting about one of our main, you know, most important people. And I just want to also say that today, Bill and I got to go to the Grant Center, which was packed with people, in which Margaret Mackey, her 100th birthday. And those kind of things just mean a lot to me. And I know they do to Bill also. So I don't know what more we want to talk
I have
about.
one more
This.
thing.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The last piece of this that I really want to bring forth, I think everywhere I go lately, and maybe it's because my ears are open, but people are talking about this. They're saying, I want to be first on the list. I'm before you, or, they're kind of fighting over who gets to move into this as it goes, and when's it going to be done, and how fast is this going to happen, and all of those questions I don't necessarily have the answers for. I know we're moving forward. The expansion of the care center is key. I think that needs to happen. But my biggest concern that I'm hearing out there is that, well, I grew up here. I lived here my whole life, and my grandparents did, and we can't even get into the care center. There's 100 people on the waiting list. So I think we need to talk about policy. So I think as we all are working on this, if you have some really great ideas, we created policy for housing. We have our, you have to work here to live here in our housing. So I think that we need to look at some policy that's going to include giving a space for those community members that have lived here. Yes, it's the economic driver. Yes, we want people to come to Moab and spend their last breaths here because it's a beautiful, great air quality. But we also don't want to forget about all the people that lived here and made that happen. And so as we are building this, we need to build policy to go right along with it. So we just don't get there and be like, oh crap, we have this amazing space, and now our local grandma and grandpa can't move in there, or ourselves. So that's something I really want to start working on, as well as that policy and what that looks like. And I don't know what it does yet, but I'm going to ask for everyone's help on that as well.
One of the things, and Melissa, maybe you can talk about this a little bit. Sorry to push you on the spot, but it did come up in one of our subcommittee meetings about the Council on Aging. I mean, we have a great Council on Aging right now, led by Karen Fury, and how we could strengthen, how the county could strengthen that board to take on some of these things that Mel's talking about. Do you remember those conversations, Melissa? Am I really putting you on the spot on here on this one?
No, you totally are. I think, we talk about it all the time, that one of the biggest foundations of economic development is having a community where people want to live. Because if you have a livable community, those people are starting businesses. It's a place where they want to live. And I feel like we do a really good job at looking at all of the different areas of what makes the community livable. And what we had talked about is we also need to put that same amount of focus into what it's like to age here.
Mm-hmm.
So having a council on aging, what's so important about that board is that they're the advocates for aging. They're the ones that are supposed to be pushing the county. They're the ones that are supposed to be pushing the commission to the point of discomfort to make sure that those voices are heard and that advocacy moves forward. So to be able to task them and have them really be able to engage as a board and push these policies forward and make these recommendations, the stronger that board is, the greater the advocacy they should be pushing to be able to advocate for aging adults, almost to the point of discomfort, right? It's one more voice at the table.
Great. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? Love to hear from you.
It's very easy to pull that up on the advertiser's webpage. I just did myself to do that assessment. So I really recommend everybody,
Participate.
participate in that because some of our comments will be part of the decisions, around, just like Mel said, we don't want to have just retirees moving here to take up these spaces. We want to welcome them here, but we also need to take care of our aging population. Some of are in families that started this valley. So, I would urge you to go to that advertiser page for that.
Brian,
Yeah, just kind of second on that right there. The easiest way to advocate at the state for funding, which this is going to require, is to have data. So, being able to have this needs assessment in hand when we're up there talking to legislators, and it's invaluable to say, no, this is where we're at. This is where we're going right here. Can you guys help us get there? So
great, thanks. Mike, you've been quiet.
Not, definitely not my usual, but I know that I'm one of the younger members of both the commission and the council.
You
here.
won't be forever.
I won't be forever. This has been an ongoing topic for my own family. My wife's parents, now parent, are far more aged. They're older than even my own parents. And the question of availability of care centers and everything, we have always looked over the last 4 years, we've looked outside of Moab because we know getting a room at the care center it's a list. We also know that our other communities that are close, Grand Junction, Price, both do this. They both have senior living. In that, I would really look towards our communities. I mean, what they are doing right next door, because they're not that far away. If they have a good idea, our person who we put on this should be stealing those good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it doesn't take a lot for a good picture of what is going on with aging. Grand Junction has huge communities. I've stayed with them. I've had family and friends in senior living in Grand Junction, and I've seen some things that they do right. And I didn't know at the time that they were doing some things wrong, but now being in a commission member position, you see that, and you see what infrastructure needs are going to be neat downtown. But I hope we look towards local communities that are doing things right next to us.
Yes, very, very well taken. And we have, when we first started all this, I mean, my whole thing, like I said, was I want this to be a little mini retirement community because we're small. And that's our biggest challenge is we just don't have those kind of populations, but I think we can get this done. And I think with the help of a consultant and with Mel and Melissa and Michael and the healthcare special services, that we can make this happen. I really encourage everybody to be paying attention. Mel and I will report back to our bodies about it. And hopefully we'll start seeing some real movement in the next, the first year is going to be a lot of a community engagement, and then we'll have a plan. And then after that, we have to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to make it happen. So anybody else? Yes, Caitlin.
Yes, I have a question and a comment. I'm curious to hear, I guess just a quick run through of what the scope of, kind of what the RFP is. I hear that independent senior living is a priority and memory care, but curious if there are specific commercial uses or kind of what the vision is in the RFP. And then, and I guess also a comment being one of probably the youngest person here. I think that senior housing is a young people's issue too. I think it's a intergenerational conversation, because your 4-bedroom house is a place where someone that's my age could buy and then start a family. So just wanting to be clear that we do talk about all kinds of housing, and from my perspective, I want to advocate for, on behalf of and to young people and to the community, that this is a topic of conversation for everyone. MAP senior living is actually 55 and up. So, even just this idea of what senior housing means, that's my parents, that's a lot of people in this room. So kind of opening up that conversation that this is for everyone and echoing people getting involved.
So our vision is the final phase of the MAPS campus will establish an integrated senior community woven into the fabric of Moab's landscape, healthcare network, and daily civic life. It will be a place where people of all ages and income levels can age in place with dignity, connection, and a true sense of belonging. And our goals, oh wait, there's more. The completed campus will serve as a model for small rural communities, demonstrating sustainable, human-centered solutions to the challenges of an aging population. More than a place to live, it will be a community a community where people actively choose to be a part of, one that fosters engagement, purpose, and continuity over time. And our goals are to create a cohesive, integrated series of developments that have a sense of place through all phases of development, organize transportation and circulation to minimize vehicle pedestrian complex and maximize accessibility, provide continuity throughout the development with pathway seating and lighting standards, create multi-generational open space community park that serves needs unmet in other parks in the community, and maximize the comfort, safety, and use of open space in the MAPS development. And those goals were from 25 years ago when we started this project, but they still apply today.
And it was approved last week at the Canyons Healthcare Special Service District meeting. And so it'll go out, I think next week, it'll be all ready to
Yes,
be
the plan is
pushed out.
Yes, that's
So
what-
for our, and hopefully have some respondents back by the end of May/June for that board to go through. So, and Tawny's on that board as well.
I just have one comment.
Sure.
Couldn't you have found a better, search term than older adults? Can't we be wisdomful adults or something?
I would love that, but it's for consistency.
Yeah.
We're just following the
Yeah.
standard and
I
I'm with
think
you.
older adult
as
than
one.
elderly. That's and Caitlin, I'm happy to send you more of the scope and the deliverables. So if you want those kind of specifics, I just don't think I need to get into those now. But anyway, I think we'll wrap up this discussion. More to come on this, but we really wanted to share this. I think this is a really important, this is like the last piece of property in the city of Moab, and we want to make it something really special. You know, I was at the Grant Center today and I'm like, wow, this place hasn't aged. I mean, it looks so good for as long as it's been there. And so I really would like to see, what's up?
They take care of it really well.
Then they do. I really would like to see us, I'd like to see this final map space, something that everybody in this room could be a part of and to be proud of. So anyway, that's it on that. Now, we're gonna move into the downtown plan, and the city's getting ready to update our downtown plan, and we kind of had conversations about this in the past. But we really want, the county to be a part of this process. You know, our downtown is your downtown, and that's kind of our jurisdiction, so we kind of have a lot of focus on that. But Michael and Lisa, if you guys wouldn't mind just kind of walking everybody through what our thoughts are and where we're gonna go with this.
All right, so I think the most important thing here is that there is a downtown master plan that wasn't adopted, and it was done and finished in 2017. And we do think that there are things in that master plan that can be taken out and still used today. So we are working on hiring a consultant who can come in and update that plan for us. And some of the things that we want to do are the big things are to have a unified vision for downtown. Safety is a major component of this, especially when it comes to multimodal, talking about bikes, pedestrians, anybody in the walking wheeling network versus cars. And then going down to having a plan that we can build on and we can implement going forward to build our community or our downtown into the next generation. But also, as you can see in the map that I put up, there's a long oblong oval thingy. That's the downtown, and that's Main Street and First West and part of Center Street and part of First East and things like that. But there are also a lot of nodes that connect to downtown, and those have to be part of any discussion that we have with downtown. You can see in medical/housing, that's the plan that we just talked about. That's that life, you could call it a lifestyle center. It could be whatever you want to call it, but that master plan there needs to connect to downtown as well to get the quality of life. And we've got several educational facilities, recreational facilities, and civic facilities. And over time, we might even see some of these corridors for the downtown, maybe the downtown move just a little bit. If demand continues to grow, we could see things expanding down Center Street a little bit more and a couple of other streets as well. So we want to look at everything. That's my point, is we don't necessarily want to plan everything, but make sure that there's an opportunity to connect to the nodes that currently exist and the ones that we're looking at going forward. So some of the things that we've already done over the last couple of years is we've got a big sidewalk project that we're doing right now. You might have seen some of the amazing infrastructure fixes that we've done in front of the MIC and in front of the coffee roasters, and we're going to continue to do those things. The trash bin replacement has been going on, and we've got recycling bins out there now, plus regular old trash bins with art on them, things like that. And I won't go through all of these, but we did do a trial for bulb outs. I think there's a mixed view of how successful that was. I think if from the pedestrian standpoint, I think it was very successful. I think from a driver's standpoint, there's probably a little bit of a learning curve with bulb outs and things like that we still need to talk about. We have done some bus parking on Main. We are doing some enforcement with trucks in left lanes with the police department, as well as red light runner enforcement, which they've always done. But I just want to make sure that's out there, that they continue to do that. And then we are also improving our MAT, the Moab Area Transit signage, stop system, and all of those things downtown as well. So the last thing is just to state that we have submitted a grant application. The city has. We're hoping to start planning with this downtown plan in June. We do have several things that are in progress, but I wanted to mention that there are also some other plans that will go into this. There's a smaller north entry beautification plan. That's one of the council's goals for this year and one of their priorities. Obviously, that needs to be wrapped into this, but doesn't necessarily need to wait until the master plan is done. We're hoping to do a master plan for Swanee Park, and we'll be talking about a lot of different things there. Not the least of which will be skate park and future location for those types of things. And then the MAPS master plan. We want to try to incorporate all of these things and make sure they're all talking to each other so that all of those nodes do have those connections going forward. So I'll leave it at that. I believe that was it for me. So that's where we are with the downtown master planning.
Can you, or Melissa or Mel, address how the county would be?
Yeah.
Plan?
I can do that. So I think there's a couple of different ways that we could do it. Now, it hasn't been set up yet, but we definitely could have a multi-jurisdictional committee that could be involved with this, just like we were talking about with the site futures and those types of things. And I think we just need to sit down and decide who's going to be on that. The mayor and I have talked a lot about making sure that the county is involved in this and that the county has a seat at the table. But the city will definitely be putting out the RFP, moving forward with getting a consultant, things like that. But we definitely want travel and tourism involved as well, the county, downtown businesses, and other affected entities or affected parties and stakeholders. We just haven't put that list together yet, but that's the idea.
Sounds good. I'm sure that one of the commissioners would be interested in joining that when it's time, as well as some other staff possibly.
You guys are just like, are you like not able to talk? Because yes, Trish.
I was told I had to keep my mouth shut.
Don't do that. I didn't find it.
My
When I
partner gave the word. I did a pretty good job. I mean, I was well into this.
No, please, Trish.
You get one change.
I got one strike and you're out. No, I think it's fabulous. It'd be great for the county to be involved in that visioning.
Brian.
I have a question. How are these plans gonna come into play with your land use code update that you guys are doing right now?
It's all integrated. So part of the downtown master plan, we'll be looking at the land use codes as well. Parking's a big part of that, parking requirements and land uses, all of those types of things will be part of the discussion with the master plan and also will carry over into what Corey's doing with the land use update.
Perfect. One thing I've noticed here is, you know, we all kind of agree that tourism is our economy, at least as right now. And in places for tourism to grow so that we can stay relevant. So right now, I know that, starting off outfitters or anything like that right now in both the city and the county, there's just not a lot of spots for 'em. So, maybe when you guys are looking at how this plays together between this plan and the, you know, land use code update, maybe looking into some of those outfitter restrictions that have been placed in, the guys' land use code. Same way that we're looking at it in the county as well.
Yeah, that is one of the priority items is the outfitter designation. And is it the C2 zone? Yeah, so that it's NC3. So that or C3, that'll be, we are working on that right now, right, Corey? So
It's great. We're gonna stay relevant. We're gonna need to grow. There's so many great things that happen in this community. We should make sure that there's places
sure.
for those businesses to spring up. Absolutely.
So, and I think as we do this downtown plan, I think it's really important to include, you know, the Office of Tourism, you know, the county and the city and stuff, so that we're all on the same pages. Cause I know that as I've been on some of these boards and stuff, everybody's kind of talking and things, but no one's talking to each other. So I think this kind of gives a platform to where we can all come up with a similar message and work together to, you know, create a very vibrant and established downtown where people want to come and hang out and, spend money, you know, for lack of a better word. So I'm really looking forward to this joint effort.
And, you know, I'll just throw in there too, the downtown is really nice. I live right downtown and we walk downtown all the time and it's inspirational to be able to be downtown among all these people who choose to be in this area. And I agree with Brian. I think that we do need to think about what our future looks like and not just rest on our laurels. And so that's one of the things with the sidewalk project. You know, why wait until the master plan was done we know we need wider sidewalks. There's a lot of areas where we're missing sidewalk, where we have holes where there used to be lights or trees or things like that, and we can reclaim those things. So that's what we're trying to do. But building on what we have and what to give credit to the business owners, what they've built on Main Street as well and in the downtown. So.
Yeah, Mike.
In speaking about sidewalks and pathway, me and Miles catch up at the lumberyard quite often. And we really need to put some interconnectivity to Spanish Valley Pathway currently going in the works and the city's multi-pathways. It really will give a good balance right there at the city county line to get all of our residents across both directions. And I mean, the interconnectivity with a large development, the Royal Crossing development, it's going to be key to get mobile transit in from a large group of people to bring them into town and they're not driving down 191.
Yep.
So, and I know that they'll use it often for that. I will personally be on that trail quite a bit, but we really need to continue that interconnectivity conversation, especially at those joints.
Right. Any other comments? Okie when do we anticipate us moving forward with this downtown plan?
Well, we've got a lot of things to do as far as organization. As you heard, we don't have that committee set up yet, invitations or anything like that.
Right.
But we're hoping, talking to Val today and Corey and Alexi, and we were thinking we were going to get started in June.
Great.
Yeah.
Melissa,
I
do you
keep
have?
saying we're starting in June. Maybe we need to start some stuff later.
Yeah.
But
Maybe in the fall.
Everything in June.
We'll see. We're moving forward on a lot of things, but we're hoping to get that master plan review started.
Bill, did you?
Yeah, I will comment. It's good to see all the sidewalk repairs coming in and being considered and moved forward on. There's a lot of the elderly people that move around town, and I literally had one fall outside my house. You know, luckily I saw her. She had 3 dogs, and I was able to help the poor gal. But yeah, it's good to see the sidewalks being worked on for sure. Appreciate that.
And we'll keep budgeting until we get them done. So we do have it in the budget. Lisa, do you want to add anything as the economic development person for the county?
I have nothing to add. Corey has shared some thoughts and some interesting ideas, and all of them make me excited. So I'm just excited for this to move forward.
You'll definitely be a part of the process. All right. Anything else about the downtown plan?
We
All right.
appreciate the seat at the table.
Oh,
We
of course.
appreciate being able to collaborate with this, so.
Oh, no, you have to be. All of these items, we want you, I mean, this is what this is about, is all these items we want you guys to participate in. And the last one on economic development is the golf course, which is kind of an interesting one, because to be honest with you, the city council hasn't really talked about the golf course, even though we own the land. And it's a great asset for us. And it just kind of came up a year or so ago. There was some problems. The golf course was not, everybody was worried. The grass was dying, the greens were bad. And luckily they were able to turn that around, and it actually put them on our, it started making us pay a little closer attention to how we can support the golf course. And then the county gave them a grant, I believe, to start helping them move forward to how we can really make that asset the best asset that it could be. And which one of you two wants to start this conversation? Because I know Melissa's been involved, and I know Michael's been involved. We did get a signed lease from them. We had, just so commissioners understand, we had a lease that expired, that it was not a good lease, I think it was. I mean, basically, we leased the golf course to the golf club for not much. I don't even think we've ever.
Oh, it's nothing. It's zero. It's absolutely nothing. In fact, it's subsidized a little bit, and I can explain that. But Melissa was working with them on their plan. So, did you want to say anything?
So how we sort of came together is that the lease piece was up in the air, and there were kind of some challenges. And they approached the county about a grant to be able to put together a full business plan. So a master plan, golf architecture, economic feasibility plan, what it would bring, to primarily use as a fundraising document to be able to revamp and completely create something new there. And how Michael and I started talking about it is, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be able to help them put that feasibility study together, to be able to raise funding to improve something if there isn't a really good relationship and agreement in place that would allow them to long-term do that on behalf of the city. So it was sort of, that's how the city and the county came together on that.
Right.
And it was a really great engagement and helped us move forward to be able to fix, I think, a few different things.
Yeah. And the lease we had before was there was a lot of things missing in it. And I think on both sides there were questions. So we're really happy to have a new lease that's going forward. We're going to propose 15 years because they think that's how solid this lease is. And they've had it for so long anyways. They're probably going to be there for another, who knows how long. But we're really happy with the relationship we have with the golf course, and we're really satisfied and definitely thankful for the opportunity through the county for them to get some money to do a master plan. Because when I was talking to them a year or so ago, they said, well, we need money. And I asked them, well, what for? And they said, well, just stuff. And I know they need stuff. They weren't joking, but in reality, the city and the county really need to know where the money's going and how it's being spent, and that it's going for good uses, and that is going to build the golf course so that it can make more money going into the future. Really quick about the relationship with the golf course and the city. The golf course has been leasing, the city has been leasing the golf club, the golf course for a long time, a very long time. We don't charge anything for the golf course for the lease unless the golf course makes money. And as long as I've been here, I've never seen anything come in to the city. And we do have them submit financials every year. We also provide them with cheaper water as a partner of the city, but they've also agreed to not use water from our wells during periods of time. So there's a little bit of a trade-off because they have access to other water during the summer and things like that. So we think we are working really well together. We're really happy that they've got a good superintendent up there, and that their management is going well, and that people are generally happy. I don't hear about it when I get my hair cut anymore. So things seem to be going well, and we'll keep working on it.
Excited for the planning, the plan grant that you gave them and what the outcome is for that. And we're gonna participate a little bit.
Oh, yes, we are also participating with, I think, $25,000, I think is what it is. And then we're also helping them to purchase a few other things up there. And in signing this lease, it also opens the golf course to access to some capital that the council has budgeted that they would pay back over time. So.
And that the master plan RFP went out, and we have responses, correct?
2 full proposals.
Hmm.
So they'll be making that decision soon. And we've included those proposals in the packet for today. If anyone wants those, you can access them.
And I'm assuming you're gonna be working with the board to
Yeah,
help them, because this is new for them.
Yeah.
They're all about golfing.
Well, and I think, I mean, that's the decision that needs to be made. And before I started working on this project, I had no idea that there's actually a point at which a golf course, to be able to repair it, becomes impossible to repair cost effectively.
Right.
So you finally get to a decision-making point where you have to decide, do we want a golf course or don't we want a golf course? And ours is really close to that tipping point. So then the question becomes, what is it? Do we just want to keep it on autopilot and maintain it till we get to that tipping point? Or do we want to put it in a place where we have a strategic vision for it so that we want to invest? And kind of feels like that's the direction that people are interested in moving in. So yes, working really closely with them and with the city to be able to help them get the best plan possible. And they're even in their economic feasibility study, which is going to be really great. They're going to break that down to say, here's what the specific impact is going to be on the city economically if we invest in this asset. And here's what it's going to be for the county if we invest in the asset. So we just wanted to take a really partnership forward approach from the beginning about kind of what's in it for everyone so that we can all step in and help support them.
It's great. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
Yeah, I know that, and I think 2 reasons, the golf course is important. We've talked about the economic driver, and, believe it or not, Utah does have some great municipal courses, and there are people that go and they travel around to go see these municipal courses, but also for the residents. I know that there's a lot of folks here that enjoy going out there and recreating on the golf course. So it's twofold.
Yep. Any other comments on the golf course? Yes, Bill.
I would like to just know some of those numbers moving forward. I don't golf, so the most I've ever done is gone out and watched the turkeys, right? Because they're all over out there. But what are the numbers? How many locals? What's the percentage compared to tourism? What are we seeing out of it? So in the process, that would be.
I think that's what information we're trying to get, because we've been
Cool.
trying to get that, and they don't really keep track of it. It's just like, there's a lot. So we don't really get those numbers, and I think that's what this study is going to show us so that we can build on that.
Great.
What's the timeline for that, Melissa?
They want to have the feasibility study and the architecture back by late June. So pretty quickly.
Great.
And say that again.
June.
Yeah,
We'll
that
see.
might be
By June.
a little quick, but
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
but good to have lofty goals.
And I mean, they've got some really impressive, when you start to look under the hood of the proposals, especially one of them, there's some pretty impressive architectural chops to get a short course and some things that would really make that course relevant.
Okay, so anything else about the golf course? We're almost 6 minutes to our adjournment. And our last item is water conservation. And I think, I don't know if I should have mentioned this at the beginning, Housing Task Force is not gonna be presenting today. They weren't ready to do that. So we're gonna move, right to our water conservation plans and, you know, Mel and I thought this was an important thing to add. We kind of added it last because as you all know, we've had great rain the last week, but we're in a drought and, very little snow in the mountains this year. And we felt it was important to show our community that both the city and the county want our community to voluntarily, or I don't know what Brian, you and Miles are gonna share with us what the county wants to do with GWISA, but we just feel we needed to jointly share, be protective of your water. We need to make sure that we don't have water issues in the future. So Brian, if you wouldn't mind just.
Sure, I'll start off. I've broken it down into three little things.
Okay.
Starting off kind of where Grand County's at. Second, just some stats from the state, and then third, kind of the Colorado River Basin in general. So, Grand County, as far as WISA, a couple of things. So watersavers.com, I think, is something that folks should know about. There's two things that they can get there. One is there's a smart controller rebate. So you can get a rebate for a controller that will help, monitor the water that you're putting out on your lawns. And then also, if you already have one of those, make sure that you set it to drought mode. The other thing is there's a grant now out to replace your grass. So that's been passed both in the county and the city. So everybody who wants to xeriscape can get a rebate for that grass right there. A couple of the messages that have been going out with the Yavapai through GWISA is wait till Mother's Day to begin watering, if you could. A little note, 60% of residential culinary water is attributed to outdoor use. So that's water, 60%. So that's watering your lawns, your plants, your trees, and other landscaping. A couple of those messages are, just slight changes in your watering habits, like watering less frequently, watering during cooler parts of the day, and choosing water wise landscaping can make a meaningful difference at the end of the year. So a couple of the bigger things. One is GWISA adopted the 2025 Water Conservation Plan last October. That replaced the 2020 plan. It set its own goal to reduce water consumption to 214 gallons per capacity day, which represents a 20% decrease from the current state recommendation of 267. However, currently, we're actually at 183 gallons per capacity day in Grand County. So, we talk about all the things that we need to do. I also think that we need to give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back for what we are doing. Grand County is working on its water use and preservation element to go inside of the general plan. That element will go to public hearing April 27th, 2026, and then it'll be scheduled for a public hearing before the county commission May 5th. Talking about Utah and kind of a little bit about where we are. The Division of Water Resources will be holding an online drought meeting on Tuesday, April 21st at 9 a.m. If anybody's interested, I can get you guys the link to that. Yeah. That's what I have. The one thing that's happening right now is the lack of snowpack is strongly influencing the water supply forecast here, and it's creating some real challenges in the runoff model. So what you're seeing online, sometimes people are having trouble reading it, and it's just because this is unprecedented. Our models aren't built for the lack of snowpack that we have. During March, Utah's snowpack deteriorated from borderline to record poor conditions, to completely uncharted territories. And this is from the USDA April 1st Water Supply and Utah Division of Water Resources. Just these quotes right here. As opposed to last year's March precipitation in Utah, well above normal at 146, the high pressure system resulted in 550,000 acre feet loss in just over 2 weeks. Wow. So, we went from bad to pretty bad. 64 of the 140 snowtail sites in the state of Utah were completely melted out on April 1st, and that's the historical peak snowpack day. So, state mountain, this is where people are, I think, are getting a little bit confused as well. So the state mountain soil moisture levels are at 70%. And people are thinking, well, that's great. Well, it's because the snowpack has run off so early. Same with our reservoirs. We're looking at our reservoirs, which are currently at 69% right now. And we're saying, well, that's not that bad. And the reason is because the snow melt has already come down and being stored in those reservoirs. Moving on to the Colorado River. Let's see here. And this number is going to change. It was actually today that they were supposed to have the DROA and the SEIS meeting today. Give us a little bit more information. But currently the projection is 4.4 million acre feet. That's what we're supposed to receive as far as hydrology goes. And that leaves a 3.08 million acre feet gap on that we have to deliver for the compact this year. And that's without the upper basin not fully any of its allocated use. The meeting, the DROA, so DROA is the Drought Response Operation Agreement. And so what that is when Lake Powell reaches a 3525, that level above sea level right there, the Drought Resource Operations Agreement is one of the policies from the previous record of decision goes into effect. They manage for the infrastructure of the dam. And so they're going to be meeting along with the SEIS, which is the Supplemental Environmental Impact Statement, which talks about how much water we can release out of the dam. Like I said, right now, the Colorado Upper Basin is supposed to deliver 7.5 million acre feet per year down to the lower basin. But that's over a 10-year period. So, 75 million over a 10-year period. Right now, we're required, depending on whose interpretation of that value you look at, 7.4 million acre feet is what we're required to deliver downstream this year. DROA will be able to use the SEIS right now to say that we're actually going to lower that to 6 million acre feet. So we'd be allowed to go down to 6 million acre feet right there for that delivery. The second thing that they'll look at, so they'll look at their downstream deliverables, and they'll also look at where they can pull water into Lake Powell as well. And the reason that they're looking at that, it's not really so much the power, but it's the delivery of the water. So, at the turbines, that's where the water is supposed to come out. Once we drop below 3490, the water will have to go through the spillways off on the side, and those are not designed to deliver water that way. So they're going to look at that. The meeting that was supposed to happen today got moved off to the 20th, was going to answer the question of futility. And so what that means is they're going to say, well, if we drop the flow down to 6 million and we pull the water from Flaming Gorge to replace that, does that even do anything? Right? So if we even follow the drought, the drought plans that we have, will that actually cause a big enough difference to go through all this effort? And so that's supposed to be happening on the 20th. It also has to do with the timing of how that release is going to happen. The releases will be coming from Flaming Gorge as they come on down. And one of the reasons is there's construction projects that are happening both on Blue Mesa and Navajo. So we're not going to be seeing any releases coming out of those two reservoirs, any large releases that the drill will be able to put down. Those releases, though, are scheduled for May. So with that March out hydrology that we have, we were originally looking at the forecast that this would be October. It's moved up to May that we're actually going to be seeing drill pulling releases down from Flaming Gorge. Other things is there's an EIS out right now. The 7 states were unable to come to an agreement. And so right now we're looking at one of the 7 alternatives that the Bureau of Reclamation put out. One that we're really looking at, there's one of the alternatives that has a release down to 4.5 million acre feet. But either which way, I think that we're walking into some pretty uncharted territory. When you look at the rule of law, a compact or a treaty you know, that kind of is up at the top. And then below that, we're gonna have your NEPAs and your records of decision. And then down below that, we're gonna have policy like your DROA or your SEIS. So right now, what we're actually looking at is the DROA or the SEIS might make us go into a compact on the Colorado River. And so it might actually be the Bureau of Rec that puts us into a call on the compact river, on the Colorado River, starting maybe as early as, you know, May, June, July, something like that. Other things that we had, this year, we had
Brian,
HB.
I hate to interrupt you, but I'm wondering if you could share with us what some of the things that GWISA is going to be asking the community to do this year to kind of help us manage with our situation.
Well, our situation, we're not in para. The things that I kind of mentioned at the beginning, those were the things that WISTA was looking at.
Okay,
doing there. So,
okay.
yeah, I can finish Miles. If there's other things, I don't know, maybe you want to talk about the wells or anything like that that we were.
No, the main things I wanted to talk about from a local standpoint is I wanted to echo, I mean, you were very thorough. I wanted to echo the education portion of what we're asking for our residents, particularly with their use of culinary water and irrigation. So very much the watering at cooler parts of the day or at night. And also that in really tough drought years like this, we need to look towards, like, especially with lawns and stuff like that, looking towards making them survive the year rather than thrive through the year. You understanding that we don't all need super green lawns this year. Obi mentioned at our last meeting that we're not seeing a drop in wells right now, and that's good. But what we have to understand is this snowpack, like, we are not working off this year's snowpack in our wells right now. So the consequences of this dry season are coming for us later. So it is our job to conserve now to be prepared for those when they do come. Now there are a couple small things that GWISA is doing in regards to irrigation wells to fulfill some of the needs of the Moab irrigation. And we can talk about that at a later date, but we are trying to get a couple irrigation wells on. And basically now that they're opened up irrigation, they are currently running wells to bolster that supply because the lake is already at such a low level.
Thanks. Brian, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the stuff you're saying is kind of scary. And, and, you know, I guess the question is like, did the Colorado peak already for us?
Yes.
For us river runners?
Like I just said, the modeling is very difficult because we're in uncharted territory. The models weren't built
To measure this.
to measure this. I'll give you on a positive note, we did get HB 473 passed this year, which was a big thing for Grand County and San Juan. So if you do run into Representative Chu, he stuck his neck out for Grand County. Of course, Representative Albrecht and Senator Hinkins was the driving force to finish that up. So we were definitely helpful in that legislation.
Thanks for your detailed explanation on how bad our water situation is, but at the same time, I think it's really important for us to understand that because some of us just take it for granted and we don't really know. So it's important for us to be paying attention. So thanks for your detail. Alexi, do you want to just give us a briefing on what the city's going to be doing?
Joette, Mike did have a comment.
Oh, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
You're okay. In speaking about those river runners, I want everyone to know, I have been, captaining the river every night. It peaked 3 days ago. We are down an inch from 3 days ago.
No kidding.
Go back up though. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, but, well, yeah, because we got snow. Okay.
Okay, I'll do the very quick version. There are visuals that I can share, but essentially the city has also been thinking about it. We adopted a water shortage response plan. Since a lot of our water comes from wells and springs, we're not triggering that, but we can still do a lot of the voluntary measures that are in it. That includes things like monitoring, fixing leaks, looking at operational water that's used within like hotels or using water to clean vehicles or pavement, ways that we can save, how we fill swimming pools or run water features. And then as we were talking about as well, like a lot of that water is used in outdoor in the landscape and the way we water things. So paying attention to times that people are watering, what they're watering, prioritizing trees over lawns or annuals, and minimizing what we're using until it's absolutely necessary. We are also working on doing an outreach campaign starting from now and running through the end of summer because we anticipate that this might be hanging around for a while. Doing press releases, social media, reminding people about some of those state programs you were talking about, giving people some tips about how to do things, hosting trainings to help people who need assistance, figuring out how to change irrigation systems or things like that. And then kind of wrapping it up in September and hopefully we see a little water before then.
All right, so there will be some information coming out to the community. I believe what we're doing is just city residents. I don't know if GWISA plans to put something out there for the county or how you guys wanna.
They
Get-
use Yavify, so they actually have a program that'll go ahead and talk. to folks.
Okay,
So
very good.
Messaging system.
Yeah.
It's great, which helps people, especially, with identifying leaks, right? All the, the things that you can do, finding and making sure that your infrastructure is at top notch is probably helpful. So identifying those earlier.
And the city is also, it is now our turn to update our water conservation plan, so we'll be checking out WISAs and doing that this year too.
And that would be a great, has the city done that in the past, do that sort of direct communication with our water users? Through,
I don't know.
through billing, and I mean, I know sometimes we get
do
messages on our billing.
Like if they notice
Yeah.
leaks or other things that are showing up in
Oh,
people's
yeah.
water use,
Yeah.
then people are notified.
But just general, yes, we have done general and we're going to be doing, that's what we're looking at this year is all the opportunities that we have to get in front of people.
Great.
At all the different venues and through mail and dropping into hotels, restaurants, things like that.
Great.
Any other questions about water? All right, more to come on this. Anything else? We're at the end of our agenda. Anything that anybody wants to comment on? Yes, Mel?
I just want to comment that the date for our next meeting is going to be August 18th. It said 19th on the agenda, but they're going to be congruent with our regular meeting, which is August 18th. And so we'll probably start that around 2:30. Don't quote me on that, but we'll start our meeting a few hours early so that we can do a joint meeting and then we'll move into our regular county commission meeting that day.
And Mel and I work together on that agenda. And I just want to close with anybody who's out there saying that the city and the county don't work together. This is a unique meeting because we haven't had one for a while, but there's a whole lot of other things that we do work together on that we didn't talk about today. So I just kind of want to end that myth that we are working together. And today's a good example of how we're going to continue to work together in the future. So with that, we're adjourned.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
no, again, I wanted to tell you two specifically, thank you, for being the leaders in, setting this up. I can't wait for the next one. So,
Great.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Thank you.